Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last minute of play in the third period. We're going to start with AUS for last minute of play because we don't do AUS enough for last minute of play, I don't think, anyway. So, Dalhousie's goalie for women's hockey, Fabriana Petricca, we need a pronunciation guide for that name. For that name specifically, because we say it a lot when we're doing coverage. And the reason why is that Petricca has more saves than any other goalie in not just AUS, but also U Sports as a whole. Now, I'm not going to do the full U Sports stats, but know that she's like saved 50 more shots than her next nearest contemporary, who has still saved 50 more shots than the person in third. But I think the way more telling stat is if you stay within the conference, in which you can look at the stat line and realize that Petricca has 622 saves. The next nearest player is Camille Sugar for UPEI, who has 479, nearly 150 less than Petricca does. Dalhousie's won their last 2 games. They're now 5 points out of a playoff spot with 8 games left to play in the season and a much easier schedule than the team they're trying to catch. They're trying to make the playoffs. Now, for people who don't follow college hockey, that number might not seem that egregious. Obviously, it's way more than the other teams in the conference. But what exactly does 622... I should point out this is saves, so this isn't even shots faced. 622 saves across 17 games mean? That means that her average shot or saves per 60, so saves per game, is 36.58. If you look at the highest number in the NHL, it's the Ducks' John Gibson at 31.71.
That's pretty ludicrous.
Oof, yeah. And that's the thing, is like shot volume, like it matters. And you know, I think Dalhousie has to look at this and say, is she going to be burned out by the end of the season? Probably not, because it's the age group. You're young, but like, I don't know, like 36 is an awful big number to take in one game.
Dalhousie does have the most goals against in the U.S.
Yeah, and it shows.
Tied with Mount A, who are just awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like really Dalhousie's like giving up around 40 shots a game.
Yeah, their goalie might get some MVP votes out of it, though.
If they make the playoffs. I don't think she gets any if they don't.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I definitely forgot to turn on the audio for the horn and had to restart it.
Yeah, no worries. We'll edit that out.
Are we going to? We left in your mistake the other day.
Yeah, but that's funnier than just leaving the fader off.
just awkwardly fade into us waiting for the horn to play and just me looking at the computer like, what have I done wrong?
Yeah,
what have I done?
All right.
You are listening to Overtime on CHSR-979 FM in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. Thank you for tuning in from 2 to 3, of course, live, or in the post, oh my God.
Video version of the
Wow,
podcast.
I'm having a really hard time today.
It's Monday.
Man, Monday morning is brutal.
Yeah.
Anyway, hello to the YouTube world as well. Thank you to anyone who's been watching the episode replays on YouTube.
Yep. Look at Sean's shirt. Sean, you gotta show the shirt. That's a belated Christmas gift that finally came in the mail.
Yeah.
If you are not watching the video version, Johnny purchased Sean a William Nylander t-shirt in the design of Sweden's Tre Kronor hockey jersey, except for the crowns are all being worn by William Nylander.
And he's making the best face ever.
Oh,
it's the most hilarious face. I want to find the original photo and just have that in my life.
I think that's his best imitation of Roman Polak.
Yeah, basically.
We're going to start off by talking AUS and looking forward, as we have two teams have clinched playoff spots in the city of Fredericton, hopefully with a third on the way. We're also going to talk a little bit about what the AUS hockey playoff picture looks like. We'll have your AUS recap before that. We will touch a little bit on basketball later on towards the end of the season as well and do the same sort of thing, but today we're going to focus mostly on hockey because that's where a lot of the news is. We're going to talk about Rick Nash and his retirement, and then we'll talk about the NFL playoffs. We will talk about last men in for the All-Star Game, and we'll talk about why the QMJHL makes me really, really angry. Also, Sean and Johnny are going to talk about a whole bunch of Leaf stuff that I don't care about.
That's fair.
Oh, come on.
I
actually you care a little bit.
You
were a little bit passionate with the argument in the group chat this weekend.
It's really funny because I enjoy the other side of this, which is that when I usually have to debate the Leafs, I'm debating with my father, who is a Newfoundland-born blue-blooded homer.
Yeah.
At least I can talk like logic and reason to the two of you.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Whereas,
of course.
Well, I mean, to one of you, Johnny's just doom and gloom over here.
Hey, like, you can't hide behind the fact that, they're like 10 points up on a playoff spot forever. Like,
Sure you can.
Well, not forever. Like, regular season only lasts so long. Anyway, we'll get to that a little bit.
Yeah. We'll get there.
All right. So we will start by, I think, just throwing it over to Sean for the AUS and ACAA Roundup.
Yeah, thanks, Kaylee. The Tommies hit the paint this weekend on the basketball court, where they played host to a couple of teams from Nova Scotia. The women took on the MSVU Mystics, where they fell 67-46, followed up by a close 83-74 loss on the men's side of the bracket. Sunday afternoon was a bounce-back day for both teams, which featured a 57-45 win over the University of King's College Blue Devils for the women, and topping off the weekend with a massive 93-66 showing from the men. The Reds played host to the Cape Breton University Capers Friday and Saturday, where they fell in both matchups on the women's side 68-57 and 72-63. The men fared a bit better, taking the Friday matchup 83-70, but being taken down on Saturday 91-80. The Reds men's hockey team visited Dalhousie, where they edged the Tigers 3-1 on Friday night, only to be let up with a 4-2 loss to St. FX in Antigonish to mark their first regulation loss of this regular season. The Lady Reds and the Tommies hit it off for the fourth installment of the Battle on the Hill Wednesday evening, which saw the Reds battle their way to a hard-fought 3-1 win over the Tommies, marking their first win over their cross-campus rivals this season. The Reds also paid a visit to the Mounties this weekend, where they held on for a 3-2 win, while the Tommies put forth a complete effort Friday night when the ex-women visited the Grant Harvey Center, forcing their way to a 4-1 victory, which featured 2 goals from the AUS leader in points, Lauren Henman. And that is your AUS ACA Roundup.
You misspoke, I think, sir. You called her the AUS leader in sports.
In sports.
Or in hockey, rather. That is not correct, sir. Well, that is correct, but there's technically a more correct thing.
It's in U Sports.
Yes, she's the U Sports leader in points.
That's nuts.
That means she's the best point. So that means she's the best point getter in Canada.
Yeah, not just
the poor
Atlantic.
provinces.
Yep.
Frig. She's so good.
Where do we want to start? I think UNB is actually probably the best place to start. UNB women's hockey is the best place to start.
Okay.
Yep.
They needed 2 wins to keep in the race for home ice and the first round, and they were hoping the results would fall their way to keep them in the race for the first round bye. They got exactly what they wanted this weekend or this week. We talked about the Battle of the Hill already, so we won't stick on that, but they played a really good game, and I think you can effectively call it stealing 2 points. I don't think anyone expected, even though the previous games were close, that they would beat St. Thomas.
Yep.
At this point in the season, with the point gaps what they were, even if the other games were close. The second game against Mount A was actually kind of a rough one because they started out really good and then almost let Mount A get all the way back into it and kind of relied a lot on goaltending at the end, which they shouldn't have done because they were dominating the pace of play to start.
They were playing on their home ice, right?
No, they were in Montreal.
They were in Sackville.
In Sackville, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
So I don't think there's a lot to talk about with Sarah's team here. They're trying really, really hard to make it work and get home ice and push for a better playoff position and maybe the first round bye. I think the ultimate goal for the Reds now, and we talked about this earlier, is they're definitely priced into wanting home ice. I would not be shocked if Sarah is going to the team now that they've won one, like they've beaten every ranked team once. I think you're now going to them and saying, if you can beat them once, you only need to beat them one other time to win a playoff series because they're all best of 3. I don't think you're priced into trying to win one. they're the Leafs. If you guys don't win a cup this year, you guys probably don't care as long as you don't get bounced in the first round.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the team is now motivated to try to win a cup because you're good enough to win a cup.
Yep.
And I think the Reds are in that same position now where I don't think anyone expects them to win an AUS championship. They're not priced into winning an AUS championship. They're just priced into winning a playoff series. But they could. They have wins over X, St. Mary's, and St. Thomas, who are all realistically their closest competition.
Yeah.
They've realistically beat everyone in the conference at least once.
Yeah, I really don't think that Sarah is the type of coach to just like take the house money and run with it.
No, absolutely not.
I think they want the whole bank at this point. Like they want to see how far they can push this team because you've exceeded this much expectations. You can add that breaking St. Thomas's season high streak.
Yes, true. Because it snapped the 12-game winning streak.
Yeah, so like you got to feel like world beaters after that. Like I think I can imagine that's probably the kind of attitude that Sarah wants her team to carry through this like tough schedule through the last couple of weeks and into the playoffs.
And then we'll stay with UNB, and then we'll move over to men's hockey. I want to save the St. Thomas women's hockey for the end because I think that Peter Murphy's team had a really, really interesting week overall, and I think there's a lot of stuff to kind of unpack there. UNB has finally lost in regulation 4 months into the season.
Yep.
How much does Gardner care?
I think he goes home, puts his head on his pillow, and sleeps like any other night.
Yeah, like it wasn't their night. I have the box score pulled up here. They got burned twice in the opening minutes of the first and the second. They scored 1 minute and 17 into the first. Matthew Graham. And Graham scored again 2 minutes and 2 minutes and 4 seconds into the second. So, and they also had 2 goals in the first. So they were down 3-0 off of like some bad starts to periods. Oh well, they managed to come back and like make it close in the end. Make it was it 4-2 at that point, and then like they had the empty net and everything like that. So, it's not even a misstep, I don't think, in the scope of like just how well their season has gone.
Well, that's their 4th loss overall and their first in regulation, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's their first in regulation, for sure.
Yeah, first game they did not get a point. I don't think you...
in January. And that's nationwide, by the way. They're the only team that had 0.
Yeah, also, like, with the program they've built up and the way, like, Gardner just has, like, so much, like, control over that room, I don't think he's hacking apart his systems or anything like that over one loss.
No. To arguably the next best team in the conference for whom you are still 10 or 12 points better than the standings.
Is St. FX ahead of St. Mary's?
No, St. Mary's is still in second. I'm just arguing that X is a better team than St. Mary's.
Oh, okay.
I also think that you have to look at it constructively. Like maybe he makes a few adjustments. Maybe he saw a few things he didn't like, and you fix that. You tweak
different line rotation to start your periods.
Line rotation. Maybe you deploy different guys different ways.
Yeah.
Has this team had bad starts over the course of the season? I know you've been covering.
I know one. I believe they didn't. This wasn't one of their shootout losses to Moncton, but one of them. I believe they were down like 2 or 3-0 in a game. They ended up coming back to win like 3-2 or 4-3 or something like that. So it's not the first time that they've had a start like this, but it has been like a consistent theme, like if we want to like compare it to the Leafs again or something like that, like opening minute, it's not like that kind of thing. It's just, I don't know, sometimes you just don't start on time. It happens to even the best teams.
Yeah, and so I mean,
you make tweaks. Like,
I just don't think we realistically, if this is the only game that Gardner's team loses all season, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
No.
And like you make tweaks like any good coach would after a loss. Like you reevaluate somewhat, but like I don't know. I think they brush it off and they start a new day the next day.
Bag skates Monday.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see that happening.
St. Thomas women's hockey team. Oh, of note, because we were talking about UNB. UNB has clinched a playoff spot in men's hockey to the surprise of literally absolutely nobody.
No, I thought they already clinched already. At this point.
They probably had before this point because they're now 27 points clear of missing the playoffs.
That's so insane.
So they would have officially clinched with well, obviously games would have played a factor there, but yeah, 27 points clear. So
Yeah.
That's insane.
I don't think it's really like worth the time to go over like when it actually happened. It just
no,
it
like
happened.
sometime in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, they officially clinched a playoff spot.
Yeah, no surprise.
See, and the thing is, I'm sure that everyone on the team's aware. But if you went up to them and told them, they'd say, "Yeah, so what?" It's not what they go for.
Gardner is not playing for an AUS championship.
No, he's playing for the big prize.
And if he wins one this year, he probably doesn't care. And with the roster this good, dominating a conference that's typically held in regards as one of the best in the best in the country,
yeah,
not good
I'd
enough.
be happy.
I don't think they're the best in the country
But-
this year. I think this year the AUS is super mediocre, except for UNB. But you're playing for a national championship. This AUS season means nothing to you other than it is an obstacle that exists between now and you playing for a national title.
A very small obstacle.
Yeah.
It's not even a question. It's not big.
On the topic of clinching playoff spots, St. Thomas University women's hockey has also clinched a playoff spot.
Just
They did?
one last thing about UMB. Just looking at the lineup of what was in this game, Samuel Dove McFall's still not in the lineup after that.
yes,
hit
we
a
talked
couple.
about him getting clonked a week ago.
Yeah, he's not on the roster for like time on ice or anything like that. So
Injury of some kind.
it's a concussion. If you had seen the hit, it's a concussion. It has to be. There's
Good
no
luck
way.
getting an update.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways, Stu.
Yeah.
Yeah, so St. Thomas also clinched their playoff spot in women's hockey with their win over St. FX on Saturday. It was a really, really good game after the loss to UNB where they looked just dreadful. They came out ready to play. This is actually pretty typical of the team. It's also how they started the first half of the season. Like, they started the first half of the season 3-2 before they went on their big run. So,
Yeah.
starting the second half slow sort of feels like their MO with the loss to UNB, but they looked really good against X.
Well, and Peter Murphy said after the game, he just said we just need more intensity. And this always happens every year coming out of the break. You know, you're coming back to the ice. You probably haven't skated for like at least a week of that time. So you're going to be rusty.
Yeah.
Like no matter what. I think one thing of note though in the St. FX game in the back half of the week was, you know how when you look at like box scores on Sportsnet or NHL.com and you like a team like Boston, you always see like Marchand from Pasternak and Bergeron or Bergeron from Pasternak Marchand.
Yeah.
All of this was just Henman from Alexic and Reed. They had 9 points combined in that game.
What we talked about last episode, what are they, like 3 of the top 4 scorers in AUS?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Henman leads U Sports in goals. I think she's one back in points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just double checking right now.
Alexic leads U Sports in assists. Reed is fourth in U Sports in assists.
In points, Henman's tied with Catherine Villeneuve.
25 her first in
First in points, yeah.
First in U Sports in points at 25, and she's one behind in goals at 16, right? 15.
She's ahead she has 16. Villeneuve has 13.
Yes.
Yep, so she has a bit of a lead there. And then out in the points, Henman has 25, then Alexic at 24, Reed at 22, and then Bujold at 19.
This is just AUS.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were checking.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the St. Thomas's top line are 3 of the 5 best players in the conference.
Yep.
Yeah.
And in a league where your goaltender is probably going to win MVP,
Yep.
being the first goalie to win MVP since 2008, you are crushing people. You're scoring 3 goals and then just rolling because who's going to score that on you?
Yep. For
And,
sure.
and if you do, then like it's a one-off. Like UMB scoring 3 on Abby Clark, I was surprised. Although wasn't one of them an empty netter?
Of note, UMB won a game where they scored 3 goals. Shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And you got to think that the X game was like a really good, kind of kick, like way to get back on track after the UMB loss. Like you get kind of stifled. Like again, like you get all like fat and happy and everything like that. Being on a 12 game, it's gonna come down at some point, and then you're right back in it. Oh, now we've won 13 of 14, and we dominated like our closest rival.
Yeah.
So,
And it's interesting from X's perspective because they'd had the bad week a week previously where they took a bad loss to Moncton, who's, fighting with Dalhousie for the last playoff spot.
Yep.
So X took the bad loss to Moncton. St. Thomas took a bad, mediocre loss, I guess. But bad in terms of you're trying in solidifying yourself as the top seed, but not bad in any other respect to UNB. And then you rebound by taking X down a peg. So that's 2 chances. Like, you lost your initial chance to gain points on X, then just clobbered them.
Mm-hmm.
Because St. Thomas is now 7 points clear of X for first.
Yeah, and UNB is closer for that first round bye, are they not?
Yeah, I wanted to actually spend 5 minutes or so talking about the AUS playoff races because they're really, really interesting. Mm-hmm. On the men's side, it's sort of funny because with the removal of St. Thomas's men's program a couple years ago, AUS men's is weird. It doesn't have the same sort of layout as everything. But essentially, UNB's at 39, St. Mary's is at 29. Those are the 2 bye spots. And then St. Mary's is still 5 points clear of X and UPEI, who are both at 24. Moncton's at 23, so they're mostly playing for seeding and home ice. And then the playoff battle is Acadia and Dalhousie both have 12.
Okay.
For the last playoff spot. And then to see who also misses. But I don't think there's a lot to talk about there just because Gardner's team is 10 points clear with...
Of second, you mean?
Yeah, 10 points clear of second with, I don't remember how many games left to go, 6... Like, my math says that it should only be 2, but I definitely know that it's more than 2 games left. So I guess I'm assuming they're playing 5 games against certain teams.
I would say so.
And not just the balanced schedule that they had before where they were just playing... Because the original schedule was you play every team 4 times. That's typically how it lays out.
Yeah.
But I don't think it actually lays out that way anymore. I think it might be 30 games total. Let me check this really quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So they're going to play. They're playing 5 games against every team.
Okay.
So UNB has 8 games left. So there's 16 points available for them and for St. Mary's, but they're 10 points clear. There's no way Gardner's team's not locking up a bye.
In like the next week or 2.
Yeah.
Maximum 2.
In next week or 2. And then if you're talking about goal differential, Gardner's team is 101 goals for across 22 games.
How many goals against?
43.
So like a plus 60 goal differential?
Yeah.
That's
just
crazy.
Shy plus 60. They're letting in less than 2 goals a game, and they're scoring just shy of 5.
You're outscoring your opponents 2 goals plus.
Yeah.
Every game.
Yeah.
Every game.
We need to look up, maybe we can get... Eric Drummy on the case on this or something like that to see how this season ends up comparing to like not only like the team records but like league records or U Sports records in terms of like just overall domination of your conference.
Of note, last year when they played 30, they also played 30 games. Same type of scheduling as this. Gardner's team was 24-2-4, 2 losses in regulation, 4 overtime losses overall. So it looks like they're roughly on par for the exact same season they had last year.
Yeah.
They had
what were their goals for and goals against?
128 and 68.
So they're gonna eclipse that for goals for.
Almost for sure.
Yep.
Assuming that they keep on the same pace where they're scoring 4 point something a game with 8 games left, they're gonna add another 40 goals.
Yeah. And you're gonna have what? Like I think they play X on February 8th for the Soldier Appreciation Game, which is
Armed
always
Forces,
a big game. That's like one tough game. You'll probably have one more game against St. Mary's, something like that. So you'll have plenty of time to pad those stats by the end of the season.
And St. Mary's is really, I think, the only tough game left. I realize that they've lost to X, but they're 15 points clear of the X-Men.
Yep. Like I said, like they're not like definitely like Gardner's team comes back and probably stomps them the next time because like it's just an off night. Like they've had it.
It sounds crazy, but just because of how you've seen them play, and I realized that they were sort of flew under the radar for most of the season. I think Moncton's more a bigger threat to them than St. FX or UPEI.
Yeah, is Moncton right behind X? They must be.
Yeah, 1 point.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
1 point with So X has 21 games played, 24. UPEI's 21 games played, 24. Moncton's 21 games played, 23.
Yeah, and Moncton has 2 wins over. No. They only have one. They only have the one. St. Mary's has 2 overtime wins over UNB, and Moncton has 1. I'm pretty sure.
Now, if we come and look over at women's hockey, this is where the race gets really interesting. So St. Thomas at 34 points. They're 7 points clear of St. FX, who are in second. Those are the 2 bye positions. Then the race gets really interesting. St. Mary's at 25. UNB is at 23. UPEI is at 21 with a game in hand against the 6-point Mount A. So let's assume they're at 23 and pray for the opposite for the other. Moncton's at 19, and Dalhousie is on the outside looking in at 14, but with sort of comparable stats to Moncton in every category except goals against, because Dalhousie doesn't play defense, apparently.
Dalhousie is as bad as Mount A,
Yeah.
who's 3-16.
Who are 3-16.
Yeesh.
Has Mount A eclipsed their point total from last year?
I will find out for you.
I think they have. I think they only had like 5 points last year.
I mean, Mount A did start off the year by beating UNB
And St.
Thomas.
Yeah.
Mount Allison finished last year with 9 points.
Okay.
They
we're
had
almost
28 goals for and 85 goals against.
Oh my God.
This season they are 3-16 with 9 games to play. They're at 6 points with 25 goals for and 67 goals against. So the team has gotten better statistically so far this year and will presumably remain better statistically, but they
Yeah.
might finish worse.
Yeah.
They're on pace pretty much to finish with like 12 points.
Yep. Pretty
No,
much.
less than that.
Well,
They're on pace to
yeah,
finish
a
with,
little
like
less.
8 points.
Eh.
Because they have 9 games left. So they have a third of their schedule left, and they're at 6 points. They're set up to finish with 9, which would put them at the exact same place they were a year ago.
Yeah.
That's
Not
rough.
good.
I mean, as we've pointed
But-
out, though, Mount A's leading scorer plays for the Reds,
Yeah, that's who
Jen Bell.
Jen Bell. By the way, set another provincial record for shot put like the day before the Mount Allison game. So that's pretty. I think there is. I think,
Two-sport athlete.
yeah, I think there are a couple of. I think there are awards for that, right? For like best two-sport athletes for U Sports and AUS. I think
That seems
there
like
is.
a weirdly specific category, but I wouldn't be shocked. I don't know if there's awards, but I wouldn't be shocked if there's like a scholarship fund for it
Yeah,
specifically.
yeah,
The thing
maybe
with
I'm
Jen
think-
Bell
maybe
is
I'm-
that
maybe
like
I'm
she's
thi-
strong, man.
yeah.
She's strong.
Maybe I'm thinking. I know there's ones for like really good like academic performance and performance like on the field or in whatever sport there is, but like there should be like that. That'd be like kind of a cool like kind of niche category or something like that, because there's probably only a handful of athletes that actually do that, compete in two sports.
So here's the thing that I'm going to go over the schedules really quick for Moncton and for Dow for the bottom of the standings, and then I want you guys to kind of quickly tally up how many points you think each team's going to get from here to the end, because
Okay.
Dalhousie has to make up 5 if they're going to make the playoffs. So Moncton plays St. Thomas at home. They're away to play St. Thomas. They have an away game at Dalhousie on the 27th, away at UNB, home for St. Mary's and UNB, and they finish at Mount A. So how many points do you think Moncton can get out of that slate?
Between like 4 and 6.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm like, it's really hard to tell. Like, how many games are in that span? 5?
No, that's their last 8 games of the year.
That's their last 8 games.
Yeah.
I think they could get a few more than 6. I think they could probably get 8 or 9.
They play Stu twice. They play UNB twice. They play X and St. Mary's once. They play Dal once, which is going to be kind of a critical junction, and then they play at Mount Allison to end the year.
Moncton's a team that has like a weird amount of pop,
Like
and it doesn't show in the standings.
I think maybe like I think you get the Dalhousie and Mount Allison game, and then you maybe, depending on how, if UMB has an off night, maybe get 2 points from them. But I think it's generous even to say 6. It's probably more between it's probably like 4.
Now, Dal's back half is a little harder, but they have one slight advantage, which is that they're home for St. FX, home for Mount A, at Mount A, home for the Moncton game, at X, home for UPEI, at St. Mary's, home for St. Thomas, is how they finish.
Yeah, I'm gonna expect around like the same for Dal.
Yeah, I just don't see how Dalhousie makes up 5 points between here and that.
Yeah, I think they only get like 4 or 5 points out of all of that.
They picked the wrong time to start actually caring.
Unless
Yeah.
Moncton just falls off the face of the earth and
Yeah, they need someone to catastrophically fail, because like I don't even think their ridiculous goaltending can save them at this point.
Now, this is a pretty critical week for talking about bye positions, because I'm going to kind of ignore St. Thomas unless they're playing somebody else of relevance, but St. FX gets Dal, UPEI gets Mount A, but the thing is UNB plays UPEI on the 18th,
Okay.
which is a critical game. The St. Thomas plays St. Mary's, which is going to be sort of relevant for other people. But UNB this weekend, and this is, I think, going to be the most telling thing. UNB this weekend plays at UPEI at St. Mary's.
Okay.
So this weekend, you need 4 points.
If you want to like try and catch X for that.
If you want to try and catch X, you need 4 points. And then you are secretly hoping that Dalhousie gains points on Moncton by knocking X off here.
Okay.
Because X gets sort of a light weekend. They get Moncton and Dow.
Yeah. Are they playing Thursday, Saturday? Or back-to-back, Friday, Saturday?
UNB's playing back-to-back.
You start Kendra for both those games.
In fact, you're actually playing the better back-to-back, though, because it's Saturday afternoon at UPEI, Sunday afternoon at St. Mary's.
Okay. You start Kendra for both those games, right?
I think you have to.
Yeah.
I think it really depends. Is your goal a first round home ice, or is your goal the bye?
I think we'll be able to like.
If you're 4 points back with 8 games to go, are you playing for the bye?
Yes.
And if the answer is yes, Kendra starts every single minute. No offense to
Haley Martins.
Especially these 2 games back to back. I think Sarah's going to have to show her cards by the end of this weekend on like what the team's goals are to end out the season.
Because let's make this clear right now. With 8 games left in the season, no one's catching St. Thomas.
No.
They're going to play Moncton and St. Mary's this week, and if they can win both of those games, that puts them at 38 points. That's going to be enough. That's first place in the conference for sure. There's the bye. That's out of your reach. You're aiming to catch X, who have luckily been up and down. Like their last 7 games, X has been 4-3.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Very mediocre.
Their last 10, they've been 4-3-3.
Yeah, there are cracks in the armor. This is not the team that, or like at least UNB is better than the 6-0 game they endured at the first of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Anyway, that's everything about AUS. We gave it like a good solid half an hour. So let's try to power through a bunch of other things that are relevant to us. Rick Nash retired, announced his retirement due to concussion-related issues. Nash really wasn't that old, 35, 36?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
He dropped the puck at a Blue Jackets-Rangers game, as is appropriate.
That's really fortunate that happened to be that weekend and everything.
I feel like that was intentional.
Yeah.
Because he didn't get signed to play anywhere this season, or was he still under contract with Boston?
I don't think so. I think he was a free agent.
He was a free agent, yeah.
In the summer,
so he knew.
Signed.
He knew this summer he wasn't playing. Him announcing it right now was just so they could keep the puck drop a surprise.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Fair
He had 437 goals, 368 assists for 805 points, 2 Olympic gold medals, 6-time All-Star, and a Rocket Richard trophy, 3 40-goal seasons. Realistically, he was the best pure goal scorer the NHL had before Alex Ovechkin. I'd say he was better than Kovalchuk.
Well,
because that was the same class. People forget.
Yeah.
They came in at the same time.
he split his Richard with Kovalchuk, right?
Yeah, and Iginla. That was the 3-way tie at 40 something.
41 or something.
41.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But no, it's great to hear his name in the same sentence as those guys. He was a great player.
I just don't know if those numbers are good enough to make the Hall of Fame.
They're not. It'll be like a very weak Hall of Fame class. Like I as much as like I hate to call it something like that. Like it's gonna take a while. Like it'll be 10 or 15 years before Rick Nash maybe even gets considered for a Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily there are some people saying like, oh, you got to keep like the integrity of the Hall of Fame up, and putting someone like Rick Nash with those kind of low numbers would kind of diminish the caliber you need for the Hall of Fame.
What were Lindros and Korea's numbers?
I don't know.
It's close to the same, right?
Do either of them? No, I guess they don't have cups, do they?
Korea doesn't. Neither does Lindros.
They were never like Nash was never as dominant as those two were. I don't think
he never got the attention the other two were. But remember where he started his career.
Yeah. Also, what about playoff success? That might be another thing too.
Again, that's not fair to hang on Nash. He started his career in Columbus, the only franchise in the NHL that's never won a playoff series.
Have they still never won one?
No. In fact, the Atlanta franchise won a playoff series before Columbus did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not even as Winnipeg, like actual Atlanta.
Like last year as Winnipeg. It was when the Atlanta franchise won their first playoff series.
Oh yeah, they had made the playoffs as Atlanta, but not.
Yeah, they won. They won the Southeast division.
The Southeast.
Yeah, like Rick Nash has 805 points in 1,060 games.
And
check Korea's numbers.
Also, like the stigma's kind of got to go away that like just because you don't make the Hall doesn't mean you didn't have a great career.
No, and Nash is a memorable player, and when we talk about the best goal scorers ever, his name will be in that conversation.
Yeah.
3 40-goal seasons and a Richard.
Yeah. There's still that crazy goal he scored against the Coyotes, like I think it was like 9 or 10 years ago or something like that, which was highlight reel. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. But yeah,
what were Korea's numbers?
He's exactly a point per game, 989 points.
Over 989 games.
Yep.
Yeah.
So and Nash is at like
888
.88 or whatever. Close.
I think it's close enough.
I think it's lower. He played like 1,100 games, didn't he?
Here, I'll
check Lindros too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And while Sean's doing that, we're going to talk NFL playoffs. I know Johnny kind of kept tabs on this a little bit. And
I wanted to bring something more than just here going off of what Kaylee did, and like there were actually some pretty good games. I didn't end up watching like any of them in full, but like fortunately I did
watch condensed games on NFL.com, right?
Yeah, like they were really well done. I didn't realize like they were like that well put together. So
Patrick Mahomes was Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, the Chiefs was definitely like the most like definitive win. Like the only real mistake they made in that game was a blocked kick in the second quarter, I think, which resulted in the first Indianapolis touchdown.
Yeah, it happens. A special teams play, right?
But yeah. Other than that, it was like Chiefs doing whatever they want, and Colts couldn't get past their defense.
Well, they say that the team that wins 2 of the 3 facets of the game, like offense, defense, special teams, is the team that wins the game.
Yeah.
And the Colts were better on special teams than the Chiefs. But the Chiefs were way better on offense and defense.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's not much to talk about. That's the game with the least to talk about. It was just Chiefs all the way.
Rams and Cowboys was mostly dominated by one really, really, really good performance, and it wasn't the one I think people were expecting.
Yeah.
I think everyone was expecting it to be Jared Goff versus Dak Prescott, and it wasn't. C.J. Anderson.
Yeah, I believe Goff did get a touchdown in this one. I remember his name being
but it wasn't the quarterback duel people were expecting. C.J. Anderson sliced and diced the Cowboys.
Yeah, every rush of like a huge gain of yards for Los Angeles was just like, oh, it's Anderson again. He had that kind of swagger going and everything. 123 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, yeah, really great performance from him.
Moving to the other LA team who let us down and didn't remove the evil empire from the NFL playoffs.
Yeah. So a couple things before we talk about the actual game.
Yeah.
There was a moment of silence for the daughter of defensive lineman Brandon Mabane, or however you pronounce his name. Mabane. And I will bring up the reason why. So most silence for McKenna Mabane, who died on January 3rd at the age of 7 weeks. She was born with a rare genetic condition known as trisomy 13 that causes delays in development and affects several vital organs. So he had
a baby and lost it.
Yeah.
That's brutal. Did he play?
I believe he did. Yeah, it has a photo here of them standing for a moment of silence, and Mabane, 92, is standing at the front of the pack and everything. So that's incredible.
That's
valiant.
That is a dedication to your craft that I think very few people have.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And also another thing was the first female referee to officiate a playoff game.
Sarah Thomas.
Down judge. Yep. So those are like 2 things before the game, and then on the field,
Chargers just weren't disciplined enough.
Yeah, there were
and it wasn't number; it was timing for penalties.
Yeah, it was just I think they were already down. I believe it was 14-7, and then they took a penalty that put the Patriots on their 1-yard line, easy touchdown for them. Patriots score another, and then there's another score after that, which was either a roughing the passer or pass interference. It was one of the 2. Those were the 2 big penalties that cost them. Gave New England like the first down and everything. Like pretty much every time the referee went to go like put his mic on, it was bad news for the Chargers. So.
I think Sean has the information. What were Lindros's numbers?
Lindros, he had 865 points in 760 games.
So Nash's biggest knock is going to be points per game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the case against him.
Yeah. Yeah. Still a great career. Like, you can have a great career and not make
the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's absolutely possible, and I think Rick Nash did. He's got things to be accomplished.
I think the thing that bothers me is if he didn't have concussion issues, would his career have been good enough to make it into the Hall?
Probably.
Because he probably breaks 1,000 points, right?
Yeah. Who knows? Like, we don't know how long he's been dealing. Like, I didn't really think of Rick Nash as someone who played with concussion issues, and that kind of goes into like the overall narrative of, like, we've talked about on multiple occasions, like when like there might be like a parade of players just like retiring out of nowhere because
it turns out they actually have brain problems.
Yeah.
And that's
like,
what it comes
might
down
be
to.
like Crosby could still like have a great season and
Crosby's
be like
only
in the
Crosby's only a couple years younger than Nash. So we could have a couple years down the line, Crosby could be coming out and saying, for the benefit of my health, I need to retire.
Yeah, and like you can't fault him for that because he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He is one of the greatest players of all time. There's literally not the only thing that Crosby has left to play for is he better than Ovechkin? That's literally the only like debate on that that's got to be settled at this point.
Debate.
Yeah. It is for a lot of people. So.
I mean, I think you're talking about two different things. Crosby's the greatest playmaker maybe to ever play the game.
Yeah, and Ovechkin's the greatest goal scorer. He's going to be.
Yeah,
I think so.
Last playoff game was the NFC semifinal between the Saints and your defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles.
Yep.
And the Eagles should have won and didn't.
Yeah, so they got off to a pretty good start, 14-0. Right out of the gate. Then it was just Nick Foles could not convert
a third down.
A third down. So I have it kind of like played out from what I watched and everything. So at 14-0, Saints get an interception off the following Eagles possession. They managed to pull off a fake punt on a third and something, whatever, it doesn't really matter, and managed to get a first down. They do a couple more drives, gains after that, touchdown. Then on the next Eagles possession, great defensive play to tip the ball on a third and 9. They get the ball, take it down for a field goal. Same thing on the next Eagles possession on a 3rd and 4, and then. Was it Hill? What's the first name for Hill?
Oh, I don't remember Hill's first name.
They did this play where he slotted in at quarterback and Breeze lined up like on the offensive line.
Yeah.
And they threw Hill threw a touchdown pass, but it was called back for like a holding call or something like that. But the Saints still managed to get it down. Michael Thomas gets the touchdown, takes it for the lead. I think it's like 20-17 at that point.
Eagles are forced to make a field goal. Eagles lose possession. Saints miss a field goal, and then Lattimore intercepts them on the final drive.
Yeah, they're still within. Eagles are still within 6 points. Get within about 30 yards, and the interception happens, and then that's the ball game.
That is the NFL stuff this weekend. Bryce Harper. No updates on dollar value, but apparently it's the Phillies.
Yeah, apparently it's the Phillies, and it's really interesting because Philadelphia is a sports city, and it's a place I think that has more it has more to give than just the money. Like they have a lot to give. The fans are raucous. Like Bryce Harper's he's no stranger to being booed at Citizens Bank Park. like he's one of the most hated people there, but like he can go from one of the most hated to one of the most loved in the stroke of a pen.
He's going to a divisional rival every time he goes back to Washington. They're going to hate him.
Oh, yeah.
Does he become the most hated man by his former team? Because it seems like the Raptors have forgiven Vince Carter. Who would be for the NFL?
I mean, the reason why everyone hated Carter so much was he went to the Nets. That was literally going to your rival.
Yeah.
I mean, Harper's doing the same thing.
Yeah. This is probably this is definitely way more than John Tavares going back to the island.
I think the issue is that Harper was offered $30 million a year to stay in Washington, and that wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
If it comes out that the deal from Philadelphia is like a fraction more, he will never be forgiven.
Or even if it's less, but he probably wouldn't.
No.
Less.
He's not making less than 30.
I don't know. Does he? If I wanted out of Washington bad enough, I'd take a pay cut.
If you did,
It doesn't have to be that much. Like
Yeah.
if you were offered right now $30 million by DC or $27.5 by Philly, where would you go?
DC.
You'd stay in Washington.
I'd stay in DC, and that's only because I think both it's a draw.
But that's the build of the team, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing is the Nationals clearly went out with the attempt to try to convince Harper to stay by making the team appealing and couldn't do it.
Yeah.
NBA, Steph Curry passes Jason Terry for third most three-pointers all time. Curry's still got a bunch of years left.
Yeah,
He's going to destroy that record, right?
How old is he?
28.
28, 29?
28. Who holds the record? Is it Ray Allen?
Right, Ray Allen.
Ray Allen. Yeah. He'll probably smash that. Definitely.
My boy, Luka Doncic. Youngest player with at least 25 points and 10 assists.
That's in one game,
That's
right?
one game.
One game
since LeBron in 2004.
I think that's pretty notable because
God, the Mavericks are bad.
Did anybody expect that LeBron would have his own records broken while he's still playing in the league?
Probably not.
No.
Yeah, that's quite a feat.
To be fair, that technically doesn't break LeBron's record because it's since LeBron. So LeBron still holds that record for being the youngest player. But for Doncic to slot in at number 2,
Yeah.
well, LeBron is like... I don't think we would have expected that the player who was going to slot in at number 2 behind the king, the greatest basketball player of all time, don't at me, Jordan fans, is... playing at the you're essentially if Doncic's numbers are to be believed, we are watching the next LeBron James come into the league at the same time as the current LeBron James.
Yeah.
When LeBron came in, Jordan was gone. The best player of the time wasn't passing the torch to anyone. Realistically, a couple of years when Doncic is coming into his superstar age, LeBron's going to be retiring. Because LeBron's in his 30s. So we're actually going to have that passing the torch now if Doncic is as good as advertised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially he'll definitely retire especially if LeBron manages to build up another championship franchise in LA. His next championship could be his retirement year.
Yeah. If you guys want 5 minutes to talk about the Leafs, we got to move.
Okay.
Brent Burns hits 1,000 and got a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
The traditional silver stick. He got a fancy bottle of wine. Now for the fun stuff. He got a fossilized megalodon tooth.
Yeah, that's a dinosaur, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's and 2 antelopes for his ranch in Texas.
That is a whale.
Yep.
That is a dinosaur whale.
Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely Brent Burns would be the only person I would expect to have a dinosaur whale tooth in his collection.
He's not human, right? He's too strong to be a human.
He's going to retire, and then he's going to reveal that he is the first alien to ever play in the NHL, and that Wookiees are real, and that George Lucas saw the future.
All right.
Transactions. Actually, one of huge note. Casey DeSmith resigning.
Yes.
3 years at 125. With that stat line, why?
Yeah.
You make so much money on the open market. 9-2-1 across 41 games, 3 shutouts, 18-12 and 5 on a Pittsburgh team that hasn't been very good.
Yeah.
Until recently.
Overall, in his career there, he's... Did you say 18-2 and 5? The stat line I have here.
18-12 and 5.
18-12 and 5.
Yeah.
3 shutouts and a 9-2-1 over 41 games. That's a good sample size for a backup.
I think the bigger
That's how
question
much
is
that made you guys pay Bernier $5 million.
Yeah, exactly.
what happens with Murray?
No, you keep Murray.
Well, you keep
He's won
Murray.
2 Stanley Cups.
Yeah, you don't trade him, but what does this mean for his future, right? It's sort of lighting a fire under him now.
No, you signed.
I think it does.
If you signed DeSmith at 125, you are distinctively saying you're the backup.
Yep.
Sure, but if he's putting up better numbers than Matt Murray, he's the guy,
Yeah.
and you have to roll with it.
Leafs signed Trevor Moore.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's just a
It's a depth
competent
signing.
He's looked good the couple games that he's played, and Dubas, these are the exact type of deals. If Dubas wants to keep the core together, you gotta make these.
Ottawa made a couple of minor league deals. Their 2015 second rounder Gabriel Gagne goes to the Leafs for Margin Klimchuk. Didn't you guys just get Klimchuk too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing.
Belleville's leading point scorer Paul
let him
Carey
do
went
it.
to Boston for Cody Golubeff, who people are still hoping is going to pan out.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Boston wants Carey to have some depth scoring that they can possibly bring up for the third and fourth line for an inevitable playoff defeat of the Leafs.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a second. Also, on that note, like if you are really interested in like that AHL stuff, silver7sends.com, which I guess is a branch of SB Nation, has a great article where I got most of like this information from if you want to like know details of those transactions. So yeah.
Obihiro Japan hosted the women's under 18 hockey championship. Canada won gold over the U.S. Canada's first world title since 2014. I like the under 18 tournaments. They're really volatile.
Yeah. This one was held in Obihiro, Japan. And Maddie Wheeler from Earnsville, Ontario scored, I believe, her first goal of the tournament as the overtime winner. So she pulled kind of a Steenbergen this time around. So cool. I didn't even know that tournament was happening right now. So
yeah, which means the next thing should be the Division II World Juniors.
Something like
I think
that.
on the calendar.
Yeah.
Last men in for the All-Star Game. I always get worried when people do fan votes that people are going to vote in people that don't necessarily deserve it. This time it looks as if people generally went with the best available choice in every case. Skinner was the best goal scorer in the division and wasn't in, so he got in. Landeskog had the most points of all the people who'd been snubbed. He got in for the Central. Letang was the highest scoring defenseman not already going to the All-Star Game. He got in for the Met. And Draisaitl had the most assists of anyone that wasn't going.
Yeah, I believe
yeah.
it.
31 assists. Yep.
I think the only person with more than him was McDavid in that division.
The only real notable stub is Morgan Riley. Like, two of your other teammates got in over you, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just how it falls.
You have too many good teammates to choose from, so, yeah, unfortunately.
Interesting and weird stuff from Saturday. Kuznetsov.
Kuznetsov, he had, I will bring up that tweet if you guys want to talk about the other two.
Snoop Dogg on play-by-play.
It's fantastic. Go watch the video. I think it's on TSN's Instagram. It's fantastic.
Connor Garland.
Yes. See, I actually have a lot of great things to say about Connor Garland. He
Say them fast.
He went to my high school. He played for the Moncton Wildcats, and he's actually the first player since Sidney Crosby to lead the queue in point scoring for back-to-back seasons.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. He had like 130 each. He helped Moncton go to back-to-back conference finals.
Who's he drafted by? I'm assuming he's been drafted.
Arizona.
He's a Coyotes prospect?
Well, he's playing for the Coyotes right now, but like he was just a tiny kid when he played for Moncton. He was like 5'7", 5'8". He's filled out a bit. He has a 5'10" frame now, so it's not as bad, but the kid has wicked wheels.
Pedersen is skating already.
Yes.
I have the Kuznetsov quote.
Go ahead.
So for like the 7th time this season or something like that, they've imitated his like bird flapping celebration.
Yeah.
I don't know what people have it out for Kuznetsov, but he was asked about it because a player in Columbus did it. And CBJ players did Kuznetsov's bird celly after Panarin scored the game winner. Kuznetsov was quoted saying, "That's fine. It's nice to get some people that think about me. Same as like in April last year, you know." So that's just a really good quote tweet or whatever.
Yeah, Pedersen is skating already, shockingly. Mm-hmm. What's the update on Hope's eye injury?
He's fine. He missed, I think it was their game last night or like the next, whatever game they played after that, or they're playing tonight or whatever. Their backup is starting, but he should be good for.
To go.
Yeah, he just took a stick through his the hole in his face mask to the eye and everything like that, but he says it's fine. So.
A couple of kind of interesting meltdown-y sort of stuff. We have about 40 seconds. McKinnon and Jared Bednar isn't news.
Yeah.
They had a blow-up on the bench in the middle of a game. McKinnon apologized afterwards.
Yep, pretty much.
Randy Carlyle.
This was after the
Ducks' 11th straight loss?
10th
straight loss.
Yeah, it was before the 11th.
It's probably at 11 now, the way
It is at 11 now.
Yeah,
after last night.
Randy Carlyle, he snapped at the media when someone asked if he was worried about his job security, and then abruptly ended the interview, said dumb question, and then called the reporter a jerk. Seat, and this is just a tweet from Mike Coppinger, Seat is getting awfully hot with the losing streak now at 10. now at 11. So he's
getting fired.
Good one, Randy.
Yeah, he's going to
Good one.
Yeah.
I want it known just for posterity on the show, at this exact moment on January 14th, the Canucks are currently tied for 8th place in the Western Conference. That's not going to last, but
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy it.
We'll see.
Bobrovsky?
The reason came out of like why he was benched.
Oh,
for
did
that.
I miss this? What was it?
Yeah. Apparently, after he got pulled, he went to the dressing room and took all of his gear off. The trainer came in, said, "We need you to put your gear on and get back out on the bench in case there's an injury." He said, "No, I'm not going back out there." And they spent the rest of the game without a backup for Korpisalo. Was it Korpisalo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's actually
Now-
that's garbage.
Yeah, but apparently Kekalainen had like a meeting with him as well, and they say the air is cleared, but I don't know how much.
There's
we
no
should
way
believe
he's
that.
re-signing.
He's a great goalie, but like, do you really want that?
Yeah, that's
It's dicey.
How much leash do you give a Vezina winner?
not that much. Like that's just unsafe. Like you're putting your
Yeah.
team in direct detriment from your actions.
Yeah. All right. You guys get 3.5 minutes to complain about the Leafs and the Bruins. We did want to talk about some statements from the QMJHL commissioner, but we're going to save that for Friday.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll do that. Okay.
So where do we want to start?
Look, I went off in the group chat and everything like that after the Leafs lost to the Bruins. What was it? It's 3-2?
3-2.
3-2.
Pasternak had the winner, of course.
Bruins are exposed our defensive issues yet again. Zaitsev looked horrible on the second and the third goal. Gardner looked horrible on the first. Although he did not directly cause any goals, I didn't really like the play of Ron Hainsey. Overall, like defensively, I did not. I don't know. Bruins are like the team, like it's most important that our team beats, because like there's no way, unless the Bruins somehow fall off a cliff, that we're not getting them in the first round. And if we drop another first round series to the Bruins, that's not acceptable. That's a failure of a season. We need to, like, how have we not like solved this issue yet? And Pasternak, who is basically going to replace Bergeron as the Leafs boogeyman on Boston.
Well,
But Sean, try and make me not worry as much about this, because I think the Leafs need to make a move on defense. But you say otherwise?
Well, here's the thing. You ask the defensemen around the league, and especially Nashville when Nashville was in town, they asked them about the Leafs' defense, and they said, we don't know what you guys are talking about. The Leafs' defense is wicked. Like, they're wicked fast. They move the puck. Roman Josi said something like that. I'm just paraphrasing, but they move the puck. They get it up ice. And where the Leafs lack defensive prowess, they get it back in speed and offensive opportunities from the back end. Now, some teams lack that too. So, you know what? I think that this might be an unpopular opinion, but I really think that the solution is trade someone like Jake Gardner and get the piece you want back.
Yeah.
Because some teams lack that offense, and some teams would welcome Jake Gardner and be willing to give up some of that.
Yeah. Or even the
Whatever you
Zaitsev
wanna call
contract, which I think at this point is still movable.
Oh, absolutely.
So
4.5 AAV. I don't think that's bad at all. I think, in fact, I think a team that you go to trade with, I think that's the contract they'd want back as a replacement.
yeah. So I'm not sounding as crazy as I did on Saturday to you guys.
No,
All right.
just don't hit the panic button.
That's going to be all the time that we have here on Overtime on CHSR 979 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. Thank you all for tuning in to our broadcast 2 to 3 on Monday. Obviously, we'll be back for the same time slot, same bat time, same bat channel on Friday. And to everyone who is listening to the streaming replay on YouTube, we appreciate you tuning in. Comment down below. You can also get in contact with us by email, overtimechsr@gmail.com. You can find us on all the social medias at overtimechsr. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you on Friday.